Greetings, fellow visitors. This is Upgrade Terminal, a Star of Providence fancast. I'm Malachi.
And I'm Nick. Welcome back to the facility.
Today, we are joined by the Bit Harmony boys, Seth and Matt. Hey, guys, welcome to the show.
Dude, I just got to say real quick, thanks for having us. Hearing you guys do that intro live, I'm smiling like an idiot right now. I'm like, yes.
I'll be honest, I thought it was a pre-recorded thing. I didn't know you did it live every time. That's how consistent you guys are at it. That's great.
Yeah.
We like to do it live because it kind of sets the mood, you know?
Mhm.
Yep.
It reminds us that this is a very serious Star of Providence podcast.
Very serious.
No, but Seth and Matt, we're very happy to have you on. You are both podcasters and content creators in your own right. Actually, you have a lot of podcasts. How many podcasts do you actually have? Because Seth, in the pre-show, you just mentioned one that I didn't know about.
yeah, that it happens that way. I'm one of those. I do so many things that it's like people are like, wait a minute, what? Like you're like, a lot of people don't even know the full extent of the stuff that I do, and I'm also really bad at self promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like talk about myself very well either. But yeah, I do a bunch of stuff with All In Media, where Matt and I make a podcast called Bit Harmony, which is a video game music podcast. But it's also not really a video game music podcast. We talk about all kinds of stuff. Music is really just kind of like the
jumping off point.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like the linchpin of it, I guess. But we go into a lot of tangents. I don't know. Matt, do you want to talk about Bit Harmony a little bit?
I mean, yeah, like you said, ostensibly it's supposed to be about video game music, and then inevitably it ends up being about basically anything at some point. So, yeah, I don't know. If you end up liking the energy in this podcast, you'll probably like Bit Harmony, is what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've been doing that for like over a year now, and we do it every other week. So it's a bi-weekly show, and we really love it. I do a podcast called the Koopa Cast, which is dedicated to Nintendo and indies, which Malachi and Nick have appeared on, which was a very good episode of that show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was truly the pleasure was mine. And so I do that. I got the Nintendo Drive over on Carpool Gaming, a few Patreon exclusive podcasts for both All In and Carpool Gaming. I've got a YouTube channel, which I just recently rebranded to be a personal channel. And so I do a lot of stuff. I'm a full-time content creator. I've been a full-time content creator for over 3 years now, which is crazy. But yeah, this is what I do. Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, no, it was. I'm glad that we can have you on here and kind of corner you and force you to self-promote.
Yeah, I'm bad at it, and it also takes like way too long to go through it all. But I appreciate it.
Well, we'll definitely link to all of your work in the show notes so people can check it out. And I actually haven't gone back and listened to the segment that we were on in the Koopa Cast because I was like, I haven't listened to it yet because I'm like, I don't want to listen to myself. I didn't feel like I did a good job.
It was great, dude.
Yeah,
it was
good.
great.
I listened to it. I was happy with it.
Yeah, I'm weird like that sometimes. But so I'm really curious about both. Well, first, how did you two meet?
Oh,
this is an interesting story. Do you want to share?
Yeah, we've been doing Bit Harmony, like Seth said, just over a year. But we met. This is kind of weird to explain. There's this. There's like this marble rolling platformer on Switch and PC called Glyph, Glyph, and that came out in 2021, I think. And I randomly saw it in the Nintendo Switch eShop, played it, loved it. One of my favorite games that year. I followed the developers and all that stuff. They happened to be doing a stream. I don't even remember what the context was. Seth, you'll have to chime in with that. But Seth and his former co-host Eric were in that stream. I just happened to be home that afternoon with nothing else to do. I liked the cut of his jib and Eric's jib, and so I just started hanging out in the All In Discord, and that's kind of where it started, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it was interesting because so one of the things that that I'm really passionate about is indie games, interviewing independent developers and stuff.
Hmm.
And yeah, my former co-host Eric and I, we would often on our old podcast have indie devs on to interview them or whatever. And I've kind of carried that torch forward with the Koopa Cast a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, we interviewed his name is Rasmus, and he was, or I guess still is, assumedly, the community manager behind the developer of Glyph. And yeah, we loved the game, and we had him on the show. And right after, he was like, "Hey, you guys are really good at this. Like, would you be cool with just like appearing on some streams and just like hanging out and talking?" And specifically, this was part of like a 3D platformer thing. Like he wanted us to come on and just talk about 3D platformers, I think.
Dude,
Huh.
it was for like some European like game award thing or something. And so it was like a
Yeah.
real weird time for you. It was like 6 in the morning or something for you. It was real
Yeah,
weird.
it was like real early, and I didn't even know that it was part of that. Yeah, it was like some kind of European, like game showcase or something like that.
So
And
there
he's
were
like,
thousands of people watching you.
yeah, and it's like, do you want to come on and talk about 3D platforms? And I'm like, yeah, dude, that sounds good to me. And so we did that, and yeah, Matt just happened to be in the chat and started hanging out, becoming an active member in the Discord, and we became like more and more friendly and stuff. And yeah, we just got to know each other better, and talked about games a lot together. And he and I just have really similar like values and viewpoints, even though our tastes in games can be quite different from time to time. And
Hmm.
yeah, just slowly became one of my best friends. And when I like we were thinking of stuff to do, I always wanted to do something like with Matt, because Matt had done his own like solo podcast, and I was like, this dude is like a good podcaster,
Hmm.
and I was like, it'd be fun to like do a podcast with Matt. And video game music just made perfect sense, because that was like 99% of what we were just talking about together anyway. It's rare you meet somebody that appreciates video game music on the same level as you do. And so yeah, it felt like a natural thing to do, and Bit Harmony has just become like it is like the most creatively fulfilling thing like I've been a part of. It's just so fun to make that show. We have a blast, like a genuine blast making it. It recharges my creative batteries every single time.
Hmm.
So
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, you can't make I mean, I know you guys always joke about how long you go,
yeah,
but you that's not something you can fake,
right.
If you don't like somebody, there's no way you can force yourself to talk to them, for 2 to 3 hours
4 hours.
every other week. Yeah.
Yeah.
As of this recording, Monster Hunter Mash is the most recent episode, and that was nearly 4 hours long. Yeah.
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 I didn't want to bring that one up because I did see just the terrible naming tragedy that was, I mean, I think you got to check in with Matt before you drop those, Seth.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was my mistake. I do apologize. I regret the error. Yeah.
Yeah, what was it?
It was Matt wanted me to put like he had chimed in that I should have put a cat pun in the
Yeah.
Blue Sky post. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's always next time.
Yeah.
As far as content creation goes, so you were probably doing that for a few years before you became a full-time content creator, right, Seth?
Yeah, I recorded my first podcast in 2007.
Whoa.
I've been doing it for like
Damn.
18 years.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you were early adopter. Matt, what about you? Because you've had your own podcast. And what is that podcast called again?
That's Critical Diversions.
Oh,
You know,
that's
that
right.
that one is that's just more of like a, I don't know, like a day or a weekly like journal entry kind of thing. It started off as a book club for games kind of thing.
Mhm.
Seth was a part of that, and then that turns out that's like a lot of work for like 4 to 6 people to do every once in a while.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we just don't have the energy for it right now. So it's mostly just like a weekly, I'm just talking into a microphone kind of thing. So that's like, I don't know, that's just like a personal side project that just happens to be available publicly online for everyone to listen to, I guess.
Yeah. I listened to the Star of Providence episode, and I was really surprised because I don't think it's easy to have a podcast by yourself and make it interesting.
Mhm.
Right.
I think that's very daunting. And I was like, man, I like listening to this guy just riff on this.
I feel bad because I think I talked trash about not digging the lore in that episode when I first started talking about it, and then a couple weeks later I started listening to Upgrade Terminal. I'm like, oh man, what have I done? What kind of first impression did I make?
Well, the lore is something you don't really notice until you've kind of been
Right.
steeped in the game for a little while, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So what, I mean, you made the transition into being full-time, Seth, and a question I have for both of you, what do you find meaningful about this work?
Oh, that's a big
well,
question, man.
well, okay. Let me ask you this question first, because I love podcasts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it for so long. You both create podcasts. What are your feelings toward podcasts, and why do you like to create them? Because I know that you also like to enjoy them.
Mhm.
Yeah. You go first, Matt. I have a lot to say about this.
Okay. When it comes to podcasts specifically, I grew up listening to a lot of NPR, like in my grandma and grandpa's car. So, uh, podcasts to me are kind of the natural evolution of that, except you could just find a podcast for literally any topic you could ever want. The fact that you guys make a specifically Star of Providence podcast, I think to some people it would be like, what? And my reaction is, I just want to know how, like I want to dig into that. And yeah,
Mhm.
I love the show. It just, the concept alone excited me. I would love to do a game specific podcast, even just like a mini series. I think that would be super fun. But the fact that the two of you have kept this going for so long, I just find that super cool. Uh, when it comes to just like what we're doing in general and what I find meaningful about it, basically every good thing that's ever happened to me in my life has been because I just was trying to be enthusiastic about a thing I like.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Again, meeting Seth wouldn't have happened except I just wanted to express to the world that I like Glyph so much. Glyph's a great game, by the way. Everyone should
It
try it.
rules. Yeah.
I already took a note down. I'm gonna check it out.
I don't know if Nick or Malachi, I think you probably are. Do you remember Miiverse on the Wii U?
I never had a Wii U. I only had a Wii growing up, sadly.
Okay.
I am aware of it. Yes.
Uh, I met my wife on Miiverse just because
No
she's an
way.
artist. Yeah.
That is
She,
awesome.
she's an artist, and so she would draw sketches like into Miiverse. In each game section, she drew a lot of Animal Crossing fan art on there.
Uh-huh.
And I just happened to comment. I'm like, hey, this is really cute. And we started talking, and then talking turned into private messaging, turned into playing games together, turned into messaging outside of Miiverse, turned into, hey, we're visiting each other across the Atlantic Ocean kind of thing. And that's
Wow.
why I live in Germany. So,
Yeah,
uh,
that is so cool. For those that don't know, and I'm not super familiar, but Miiverse was essentially Nintendo's social network, right?
Mhm.
Of a
right.
kind.
Yeah, you at first you had to own a Wii U to even get on there, and no one owned a Wii U. I think it literally sold like 10 million units. They eventually opened it up to 3DS owners also, but yeah, to me that was like the last vestiges of when I liked the internet, because it felt like how I remembered the internet used to feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just to underline that, yeah, every good thing that's ever happened to me in my life is because I was just wanting to be enthusiastic about the things I like and share with other people what they're enthusiastic about, and just trying to support what other people are doing. So this
Mhm.
is just that, like, on a grander, more official, every other week schedule, kind of.
Man, that's so great. Like the thought of just enjoying and being passionate about what you love has brought meaning to your life. That's a really nice thought, Matt. And I think that is like the beauty of the internet, because you're right, the internet's changed and it doesn't feel like it used to. But like I love that the internet. I mean, for Nick and I, it's the same thing, right? Like in the small town I live in, I don't even know. Well, actually, I do know. There's a few people that know about Star Providence because I've basically been standing on the street corners handing out flyers for 7 years. But um, but there's nobody that's as passionate about it. And so like I think this is what I find super interesting about listening to this is like, oh, Seth and Matt's situation is kind of like Nick and I's situation. And it's beautiful that the internet can like connect people like that. And I mean, you and your wife is an even better example. Like that's
Mhm.
that's really, really cool.
I mean, I also met my partner through a Discord server.
Mhm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I am also aware of, like, yeah, sometimes that's where you form the connection. And because I'm someone who's very, like, socially awkward in real life, I'm an introvert, I'm reserved, I have trouble talking. The internet just gives me a space where I feel like, okay, I can communicate in the ways that I feel more comfortable, and I can talk about the things that actually interest me, like Star of Providence.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
I can meet cool people like Malachi, who is also enough of a nerd like me that we're like, you want to do a Star of Providence podcast? Hell yeah. We have no idea if it's a good idea, but we're gonna make it anyway. And we just
I
kept
thought you were about
making
to
it.
say who's also socially awkward.
I think you're better at it than I am, honestly.
Seth, what about you? What are your thoughts on podcasts, and then just what you find meaningful about this content creation?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big question. I mean, like I said, I've been doing it for a long time, and I can relate to a lot of what Nick was just saying about, like, kind of feeling like the internet gave me a place to kind of make my voice be heard, or even if it
Mhm.
wasn't being heard, to at least, like, crystallize it and get my thoughts out in some kind of way, even if I'm just speaking onto a void. At
Hmm.
least I can kind of put something together and and put it out there and express myself. And yeah, for many years growing up, I think I told you all this when you were on the Koopa Cast, but it was like doing things like going on online forums and writing fan fiction and stuff like this. I ran a little blog that nobody was reading for years and years, and I've done it all. But when I recorded my first podcast, I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Hmm.
Like, I always, my mom actually worked in a radio station, and I used to, like, whenever they weren't live, I used to, like, love to run into the booth and, like, grab the microphone, pretend like I was on the air and stuff like that. And I've always liked having a microphone in front of my face. Like, I've always, I don't know, like, I go into some other realm mentally. And yeah, like, I'm a singer. Like, I love, putting a microphone in front of my face. And
Hmm.
when I recorded that first podcast in 2007 with a bunch of people I used to work at GameStop with, it was like, oh, yep. I'm home now. And I love it for a bunch of different reasons. But the thing that I've come to appreciate about it more and more as time has gone on is I'm making this stuff with people that I love
Hmm.
about something that I love. And it becomes like a totem, like a place in time that is this crystallized little moment that we shared together. And it's always going to be there. Like, it's always something I can go and look back on. And I've lost people, and friendships have come and gone and stuff over the course of my many years doing this, but
Hmm.
that stuff remains, and I can go back and I can listen to it. And I think about that kind of thing, as bleak as that probably sounds. I do look at it as like these little windows in time that kind of get preserved forever. And
Hmm.
I put a certain level of, like, importance behind that, because I think that, like, the art that we make and the passion that we put out into the universe is genuinely really important. And it only gets more important the worse and worse the real world gets.
Mhm.
And I just I don't know, it makes me feel a certain call to create as much as I possibly can, where I'm like, man, I almost just want to, like, put as much creative and positive energy as I can into the world, because, man, the world needs it.
Mhm.
Hmm.
um, and I don't know, like, it's what attracted me to Upgrade Terminal right away when Matt sent it. And I think I told you guys this. I'm like, man, AI could never make this show.
Yep.
Like, I'm so attracted to, like, human expressions of love and passion. It is, like, literally all I want to do.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing that you feel gives your life meaning.
Totally.
Mhm.
Yes.
I think that there's an authenticity that I'm a big believer in, like, that. This isn't really necessarily a spiritual belief, but I feel like that there's an authenticity that just comes through someone's work that you can
Mhm.
just
Hmm.
feel, that there's a certain level that you can't really fake.
You, or
And
generate.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, and
Right.
I definitely feel that with both of your work, and that's why I wanted to ask you that, because yeah, I think that it's a great thing that you guys are just unabashedly doing what you love. And I
Mhm.
think that the game, I always find that especially refreshing in the game space, just because, I grew up that video games were a waste of time.
Right.
And to some extent, like most of the people I work with are older than me. To some extent, that still exists, right? There's kind of this
Mhm.
really negative perception of video
The
games as,
stigma.
yeah, exactly. And so just to feel the authenticity of the love you guys have for what you're doing and for video games as an art form is just super refreshing. And yeah, I'm glad you guys do what you do.
For me, the thing that is a very important ingredient in it is a certain amount of earnestness. You know,
Mhm.
I feel like one thing I personally dislike a lot, and it's certainly a problem in the internet, is this kind of like, oh, like I do things ironically, or like I'm not really enjoying this. I'm only pretending to. I'm like, no, that's
Mm-hmm.
life's too short for that.
I gotta
Life's too
play
Yep.
short to.
Fortnite. Oh, sorry.
That's
I,
fine.
I, I,
Yeah,
no, I'm
but
just saying, like, to your point, Nick, like, oh, I'm gonna play Fortnite. I'm gonna stream Fortnite because that's what people watch,
yeah,
Mhm.
right? And if
Right.
you don't actually like Fortnite or want to talk about Fortnite, like, that's gonna come through.
yeah.
Like, that guy doesn't actually like
Like,
Fortnite.
like it'll make money, but it's not earnest, and that is to me something I find really important because like I don't know if either one of you feel like this, but like you feel like, oh, you have these interests in life, and sometimes you get kind of mocked for it, or you just get
Mm-hmm.
belittled. It's like, oh, you're into that thing,
Mhm.
okay, sure, whatever, and it's like, okay, fine, jeez, sorry. It's like, no, I want
Yeah.
to connect with people who are like just as enthusiastic as I am about like, hey, Star of Providence, isn't that game cool? Or in some other case, hey, isn't video game music actually really cool? And let's earnestly enjoy it together, and let's do something that makes our lives fulfilling and makes us happy to be around.
Yeah, like I'm in my mid 30s. I don't have time. I don't have any more time for ironic detachment. That time is long gone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well spoken.
So another question I have for both of you, and because Seth, you made a comment, or I guess Matt, you said that like Seth plays so many games every year, and you, like I just mentioned, you have this kind of really clear passion for what you're doing, and you're clearly enjoying playing these games. How do you balance playing games for work and for fun? Is that a balance you can achieve at this point?
Well, it can be kind of tough. I mean, it's funny that you ask me this now. So just yesterday, the rebrand of my YouTube channel kind of went through,
Hmm.
and a big reason why I did that is because it used to be like an all in media branded YouTube channel, and it was specifically focused on like Nintendo and like indie games that were on Nintendo Switch. And I had many situations over the years that I've been doing that channel, and it's kind of slowly grown where people are like reaching out being like, hey, can you cover my like really cool and interesting looking indie game? And I'm like, but like my channel is Nintendo and this isn't on Switch, and so
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense for the brand. And so I was like, man, like I hate that. Like I want to do
Hmm.
what I want to do, you know. And so that was what kind of inspired me to just make it like my own personal channel where I can just kind of do whatever I want and play the games that I want to play. And it kind of all came to a head this year where again I've been doing it for a while, and like Matt and I talk all the time about kind of like the why and the fact that like this line of work has a certain level of thanklessness to it.
Hmm.
um, and it became a thing for me where I was like, I want to cover the stuff that I think is genuinely like neat and interesting and provides like that level of value to the audience, and
Hmm.
the people who like look at the stuff that I make and say like, oh man, like thanks for sharing this. I would have never found out about this had you not shared it. And it requires a little bit of like vetting or whatever. I don't cover everything under the sun, but the 9 times out of 10 the stuff that I am highlighting on my YouTube channel or my podcast or whatever is stuff that I genuinely think is cool and would be like valuable to show people. And I've been accused over the years of like, Seth's like too positive, and it's like, well, dude, like I'm not going out of my way to play stuff I think I'm not going to like.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So that's I guess that's kind of what the balance is. It does mean that like I cast a fairly wide net, and it's not like I'm 100% completing the hundreds of games that I've covered. I think I was looking at this just the other day. I think I've made like 700 plus videos on that
Wow.
YouTube channel over the
Wow.
years. And it's,
And each one's a
I've
different
not
game.
right. Yeah, for the most part, yeah, with rare exception. So there's probably been, I mean, at least 600 like dedicated single game videos on that channel, and usually for indie games. And it's like, yeah, man, like I'm not like 100% completing all of these or playing them all for fun or whatever, but it's important to me that people are made aware of stuff that I think is cool, because indie games have such a hard time. It's such a saturated market, and they have such a hard time finding any spotlight, and like any small thing that I can do to celebrate something cool that somebody is doing
Mhm.
is like worth its weight in gold to me. And it truly doesn't feel like work. Like it is
Yeah.
like you have to make that line in the sand for yourself when you do this full time. Because like if it's up to me, I'll just, when I first started the full time thing, I was working like 16 hours a day,
Mhm.
streaming 6 nights a week,
Yeah.
but now it's like I'm a little more choosy, I guess,
Mhm.
but I still really love it, and I still have like that drive to play as many cool things as I can and tell people about as many cool things as I can.
Hmm.
Yeah, when it comes, yeah, it is a hard balance to strike sometimes. What happens for me, because I'm not doing this as much as Seth is by any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes we'll get a game in. We had Gimmick 2 come in last year, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
played 20 minutes of that game just on a lark. I didn't even know if I was going to like it, and I was like, Seth, we have to do something for this game. We have to make like an in-depth video. Like I'm talking both of us in the video where like I'll watch you play because I've already played the first 2 levels. I'll narrate what you're doing, and we'll really get in there and get in the weeds and like give this special attention because I think this is a special game. So I guess that's kind of how I go about it. Is uh, I can I also write reviews here and there for so many games.co.uk.
Mhm.
Um, there's only so much energy I can put out there. Like I do play a lot of games on my spare time. So what I've been doing lately is trying to transition away from writing or talking about games that we're given codes for as much, and more so about games I'm just passionate about. So that's where the Star of Providence review that I wrote came in. We didn't get a code for that. I just checked it out because the game looked cool, and then it turned out it was one of the best games I've played in years. Yeah, I'm going to write a
Mhm.
review about it. Like the developers, they've earned some kind of feedback. So yeah, that's kind of where I come down on it with like I just have to find the game I'm excited to do something with.
Hmm.
Another thing that helps me is my wife is just as into games, if not more so than I am.
Mhm.
So like right now, we're really looking forward to Fantasy Life. That's coming out in like a couple days as of the time of this recording. And so like we're trying to plan out like, oh, how do we do like a multiplayer co-op video for this? And Seth might be getting the game. We could do a 3-player thing, and like even just the planning around that is kind of exciting to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it basically just comes down to I have to find the right game that I'm excited about at the moment to do something with.
Hmm.
I mean, I heard you talk about like this game is so good. The devs will deserve some feedback. It's like, well, we're here doing like episode what almost 40 of the podcast for this one game. I feel
Mhm.
like
Detailed feedback.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Detailed feedback from an outside source. That I guess is kind of what I mean. But
okay,
Yeah.
true, true.
yeah, but you're right. Having like again a fan cast about a specific game that's been running for as long as this. Yeah, that probably is about all the feedback you really need in terms of how great your game is. I agree.
Yeah. Speaking of Star of Providence, how did both of you, or either one of you, first learn about Star of Providence?
I think it was actually a mutual friend of ours in our group chat.
He's gonna love this. Go ahead and name drop him.
Oh, Wilkins, we gotta say his name so he feels important about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, he
Wilkins?
just, yeah, he
Thank
just,
you, Wilkins.
yeah. Thank you,
Doing the Lord's
Wilkins.
work.
I think like right after the game came out on Switch, or maybe right before, he just linked the trailer in our group chat and was like, "This looks cool," and I
Mhm.
clicked on it. I'm like, "Yeah, that does look pretty cool." And then Seth and I both bought it, and that's how we got here.
Awesome.
That's pretty much it. Well, and I should say, I think I even mentioned this on the Koopa Cast when y'all were on there. I have no idea how I didn't know about this game before as
Mhm.
Monolith. Like I I have been pretty like my finger's been pretty well on the pulse of indies since like 2009 or something.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I have no idea how this slipped under my radar. But yeah, when Will linked that in our group chat, and like I think he probably just saw the trailer on like Twitter or something and was like, "This
Yeah.
looks cool," and he sent that over, and yeah, it was right when the Switch release was coming out, and I was like, "Oh yeah, dude, like this looks this looks sick. This looks right up my alley." And yeah, I guess the rest is kind of history. Like I just kind of bought it like sight unseen, and you can tell it's one of those games where you can tell within about like 5 minutes that it's like yep, like I'm in. Like I was sold on it pretty quick.
Yeah.
It also had that Hades like quality of,
Yeah.
we started talking about it, like about specific things happening in our runs, like, oh, what weapons do you like, and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah. 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 It is kind of fascinating how Star of Providence has remained a hidden gem for so long, because
Mhm.
when it first came out, like Derek Yu, the creator of Spelunky, um, Mappin, Ojiro Fumoto, the creator of Download, like all these guys were praising it and posting about it on Twitter. And it's like, how did more people not discover this? If anything, I think it just is like a really good example of how hard it is to get people's attention, you know?
Big time.
Mhm.
Because this game was relying on basically just word of mouth for a
Right.
long time because it had no marketing budget whatsoever.
As we mentioned, you both play so many games each year. What was it that stood out the most about StarProv for you?
It's so many. I mean, the game is just so immaculately designed. Like I'm somebody that when I play video games, Matt and I talk about this all the time. Like, and I think Nick and Malachi, like we were talking about this, a couple weeks ago or whatever, and I think y'all can kind of relate to this. But I'm usually kind of like the story and like vibes and characters kind of guy,
Mm-hmm.
and Matt is usually very into like mechanics and gameplay and stuff like this. And not that we don't also appreciate the other things or whatever, but that's usually the way that both of us are kind of more so leaning. And so Star of Providence, like when I first started playing it, I was like, man, this is just so like rock solid, and I'm picking up on like the Downwell influence and stuff right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the vibes that I'm looking for in video games, that kind of cozy. I find it cozy. I understand the game's difficult, but I find it cozy. Like the just even the aspect ratio of it, just even the like it kind of feels like, especially playing on Switch in a handheld format, like it feels like you're playing a Game Boy game or something. And
Mm-hmm.
I really vibed with that entire thing, just like how good the whole game feels and how smart the systems are. But then yeah, like so when I first started playing it, I'm like, okay, like this is really scratching that kind of like game design itch in the back of my brain. I love game design. I love like you mentioned like Moppin and Derek Yu and stuff. I'm like, yeah, like I love listening to those people talk about video games. And
Yeah.
so it makes perfect sense that like they both vibed with then Monolith so much, because it's just one of the like this is a game designer's game. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
it's got
Good
so
way to
much going
describe it.
on, so smart, like so many good and smart systems, right? So I was vibing with that, but then yeah, the deeper you get into it, it's like, oh wait, like the lore and like the character kind of stuff that I usually am looking for in video games, that's here too. And like it also has incredible music, and it's like
Mhm.
this really does check all of my boxes. Like it is one of those games where and we talk even just earlier today, like Matt and I are both really enjoying Clair Obscure, for example, but like we've got
As
some
am I.
complaints with it. It's great, but it's like I do have some complaints. I have no notes with Star of Providence. Like it's just one of those games where I'm like, this is exactly what it should be. Like this is like the perfect realization of what this idea is. And it's not every day you play a game that feels like that. And it's one of those things where, yeah, like when this kind of came into our purview, it's like, oh, like we need to scream from the rooftops about this.
Yeah, I can tell you. So from watching the trailer, yeah, it was the music and like the Game Boy kind of look. That's what drew me in for sure.
Yeah.
What kept me in was I love the idea of bullet hells. I love the concept of them, but I'm not good at them. So like I've played Ikaruga, and I think it is one of the neatest games I've ever played. I've never made it past stage 2, not once. And
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm pretty good at video games. I'm sure if I just like sat down with it, I could do it.
You could do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate the genre of bullet hells, and even just like a step removed from that, like shmups back in the '90s. I loved Super Star Soldier on the Turbo graphics, but what I find with bullet hells is that they can be very discouraging. I'm not always in the mood to get my teeth kicked in by these games.
Yeah.
But what Star of Providence does so well is with the roguelite structure, it kind of it incentivizes you to die over and over. And again, you can say that about any roguelite, but turning a bullet hell into a roguelite then recontextualizes the feeling of failure, So
Yeah.
that's what kept me like sticking around, and like I'm still playing. I was just playing a run right before we get on this podcast.
Sweet.
Yeah, I was trying to do a Scully run, and I haven't played him in weeks, so that it wasn't going too well.
It'd be like that.
All right. So like you felt like Star of Providence, the way it is designed and presented, it's like, well, you don't have to be like a pro shmup player to do well, and you're encouraged to just try and try again. Because when I started playing, I would still say I'm not good at shmups, but I am slightly better now than I was back then, and
He's
I know
good
that
at shmups.
I'm not that good. But anyway.
I saw your no hit run world record the other day.
Technically, there was one hit in there, but I had a shield. Anyway, the point is, when I was starting to play the game, for me, the roguelike elements were something I could leverage, because if you're just good at shmups, you will just get through this game no problem. Like the dodging and the boss fights, you got it.
Right.
But if you're not, you still have this roguelike set of mechanics that you can lean into that can help kind of compensate for that. Like, okay, I may not be very good at dodging, but I quickly understand, okay, this is how I generate health, this is how I generate ammo, these are how I generate resources, and that gives me a safety net for my performance. And like having that safety net gave me the confidence to say, well, I'm still going to, when I start, I'm going to take 20 hits to machine. I know I'm going to take it, but I know I can maybe generate enough health that I have 22 HP going into the fight. So that's good enough. And then as I play, I learn it a little bit more. I do the practice, and I just feel more confident in it. And like, I think that's what makes it more approachable. And the fact that it doesn't start out as a bullet hell. It ends like a bullet hell. It absolutely does. But it really tries to ease you into it. And that makes it, I think, friendlier and makes it less intimidating for newcomers.
Yeah, the first run I beat, I was just playing like an absolute buffoon. I had like 25 health. I'm like, I don't care about anything. I'm just going to sit in this corner and just shoot straight. It's fine.
But yeah, if you can leverage those systems, they're there to help you. And then the game says, well, once you've good enough, you can graduate to slightly more challenging rule sets, but still keeping all of the game knowledge you've acquired. And it just makes for a very smooth progression, I feel. I feel like the difficulty curve, especially over time, has been really perfectly crafted for the experience.
Yeah, it's leading you by with a flaxen cord to be just more and more of a bullet hell sicko.
I mean, it's working. Now I'm playing Blue Revolver and like trying to get 100 million points. So here we are. Speaking of which, I'm just curious. What is the most satisfying thing you have accomplished in the game? Not necessarily the hardest, just the most satisfying.
It's hard not to just say defeating Monolith. Like it's hard not to just say that.
Yeah.
Like that first moment doing that, it's like dude, I was like shaking. It's like I remember like feeling a tightness in my chest. Like I haven't breathed in a long time, you know. Like
Yeah.
it's hard not to just go with that. I know that's probably a boring answer, but
No,
like
not at all.
that moment is so powerful. Like everything that like you've been internalizing like up to that point, the implications of like the subtle storytelling and stuff, and like just the emotional payoff of that fight, the music of that fight, the like the way that like everything shifts and like the backgrounds and stuff, and like you're above the oh, it's beautiful. Like it's just a beautifully executed moment. And it's one of those like, you know, Monolith and Star Providence is full of like so many great like boss, like just all timer great like video game boss fights in this context. But like that is one, when I think back to like the Switch era or whatever, and like my favorite moments playing games on the Switch, fighting Monolith and Star Providence is going to be among them. Like it's just a masterfully put together moment, and it's hard. It's real hard not to just say that.
I mean, that's fair because I feel like despite the fact that the fight has existed since 2017 and there has been a lot added since, it still is the emotional climax of the game. It's the moment that hits you the hardest, and you realize this is what you have to do to win, and it's really going to put you through it. So it is a very good answer. Don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, no, Seth stole my answer. It's fine. But I'm glad you specifically shouted out the backgrounds. Yeah. When I finished hard mode the first time, and like you again, not to get super into spoilers, but seeing
spoilers. We can say all them spoilers you want here. Don't worry about it.
Our podcast full spoilers.
But for me, it was really like seeing like the cityscape in the background. Like I don't know, there was something about that, and much like Seth, like I genuinely like I felt like I was having like a heart attack. Like I was not doing well when I finally pulled off the win. My wife had to ask if I was okay. I'm like, not really, dear. Like it's not it's not going well right now. But yeah, that's probably like definitely my favorite memory in the game, period. Like Seth said, one of my favorite Switch memories of the past 8 years. I will say it's not. It is a combination of the game and an upgrade terminal. I find it very interesting. Y'all talk a lot of junk about the fish boss. I really love the fish boss.
I like fish too. Yeah.
I like Fish Boss too. It's just that it has a reputation for like, if you're not ready for it, it is absolutely going to slap you in the face. Like it's a good boss fight. It's just like, I think it happens that a lot of players when they're new, they get really caught off guard by it, and it just sticks out in my like, oh, that boss that gave me so much trouble that time.
Oh yeah, they're like, wait, a big goldfish? Will this thing shoot bullets?
Yes.
And then yes, it shoots lots of bullets. Yeah, I think it's the punishing goldfish that's what people don't like it very much. But
so, how do you think the game fits on Switch? Like, what was your experience playing it on that platform?
For me, it was basically perfect. Obviously, you're never going to have the accuracy of mouse controls on a Switch.
Right.
But generally speaking, the time where I don't have as much time to play games on like a TV or at the computer as I would like. So being able to just play it in handheld, especially on a Switch OLED, where the black like really is just popping, and with how black this game is, like that was perfect. I did, the first, I don't know, 10 or so hours, I was struggling with being as accurate as I want with aiming. I did eventually find in the settings the laser sight, and that helped immensely. Yeah, it feels about as good as it could possibly be. Running on Switch, there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no like real technical issues going on. I know Seth brought it up, wanting to play with the GameCube controller because of the notched stick, which,
Yes.
yeah, that sounds awesome. And I'm curious if you ever tried it because I kind of want to
Yeah.
try it also.
Yeah. No, it feels great. You do have to go in and adjust like the controls. Thankfully, the game lets you do that. Like you can go into the settings menu and adjust the controls and the button mapping. But no, like yeah, it feels really good to play a game like that with notched gates on the control stick. And I can't wait for the Switch 2 GameCube NSO controller to come in so I can play stuff like Star Prov and Monkey Ball, just like with a wireless controller. Oh, it's going to be so good.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things tempting me to buy a Switch 2 right now.
Oh yeah, the GameCube stuff. Yeah, I'm with Matt. I think the game is perfect for the handheld context. Like, it really just I think helps sell that entire like Game Boy aesthetic. But you really like I have this thing, and maybe I don't know, maybe this is a little, maybe I'm like self-diagnosing like some sort of like attention deficit disorder or something, but I find myself getting so like sucked in to a game like way more if I'm playing in handheld. Like it feels more like intimate. Like it feels like I'm getting lost in a good book or something.
Yeah.
Like just I have like my little, we live in a small apartment now, but I have a little like, corner with my couch over there where I can just kind of have my books over there, and that's kind of where I go
It's your
over to
nook.
read.
Yeah.
My little nook over here in our tiny apartment, and like that's where I do my reading, and this is where I do a lot of my gaming. I just kind of cozy up over there with my Switch in handheld mode, and I put many hours into Star of Providence that way. And I feel like I can kind of like fall into the game in a weird way. And yeah, on the OLED specifically, like Matt mentioned, those true blacks on the OLED, the game looks incredible on the Switch OLED, like genuinely.
Yeah, it does.
And it's cool too, like I don't know, just structurally, I know that there are a lot of roguelites and roguelikes, and there's certainly no shortage of indies coming out on the Switch literally every day at this point, but Starprov really stands out. Like I can't point to that many contemporaries on the eShop of things I would be like, like hey, this is a lot like this, like it genuinely feels unique. And the closest things that we tend to point to end up being things that are in kind of entirely different genres altogether. Like you could make comparisons to things like Isaac is on Switch, of course, and things like Matt mentioned, Hades and stuff like this, but none of them are in like Downwell. Like none of them are really exactly like Star of Providence. Like it really is unique. And it's also like very inexpensive, I think, for the amount of like hours you can get out of it.
Yes.
So I think that's a big thing.
I feel that way about so many indie games. Like it's like I cannot believe that this is. I think is it $15?
Yep,
I think so.
$15.
$15, and it's a game I played more like longer than any other game probably in my life.
Totally.
Well, Downwell might have more hours still, but it's like the value is insane to me on a lot of these indie games.
Yeah, like I paid $15 and already have more than 1,500 hours. So like that's definitely a good deal for money.
Yeah, and you mentioned Claire Obscure, and I'm playing that right now too, enjoying it. I feel like I'm almost done with it though, and I'm probably like 35 hours in, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but that game is it $60?
I think it's 50.
It's 50.
US.
Oh, it is 50. That's right, because I know it is a little cheaper, but I'm just like, it's just so amazing to me that you can have these indie games that are shipping for $15 and you can get that much playtime out of it.
Well, it's also the fact that a lot of the inflated price tags come from the AAA production industry, and like these are indies who are like consistently proving again and again you don't need tremendous production values and like all these graphics to deliver a worthwhile experience that can last you thousands of hours.
Yep, I completely agree. I think that we've reached this place, especially with AAA games, where it's become totally unsustainable. And like, these studios are having to make, these games that last hundreds of hours and cost, $500 million to make and whatever. And then if they don't come out and sell 20 million copies, then it's a failure and everybody gets laid off, like
Oh yeah, huge risks.
totally, right. And so what it ends up creating is actually a really risk averse climate, with publishers and things like this, and it's why a lot of AAA games are kind of boring,
Yeah,
and
it's stifling creativity.
Absolutely. And so it's really great when a game like Star Providence can be made by a small team that doesn't have this insane amount of overhead, and they're allowed to really kind of creatively express what they want to express in the game, continue to work on it, offer it at a great value. And you don't see that much stuff, especially on the Nintendo Switch eShop, where it's like, all of these, like the crazy stuff that pops up there. I'm trying to keep it PG here on the podcast, but there's some insane stuff that pops up on the Switch eShop like every day, and it completely muddies the visibility for the good stuff like Star of Providence, and it's another reason why I've almost like taken this charge of like, when something good comes out, like I feel like I need to scream about it so that people, know it even exists at all.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to sift through. I don't want to say garbage because I don't think that's fair to all the developers, but there's stuff that I've seen that's like shovelware, like
it's
really
mediocre.
Right.
So yeah. Well, I was really excited for. I've talked about this in the past on the podcast, but I have such an affection for Game Boy because I grew up playing it, and having video games be portable. I agree with you, Seth. Like it's like having this world you can take with you, right? And especially when it's like, hey, your parents are like, we're gonna go to this place. It's boring, but I can bring my Game Boy and then escape into that. Like that was always a big thing for me, and I love having Star Providence on Switch finally. And when I recently traveled for business, I had a 14-hour flight, and finally, for the first time, I was able to just pop in my noise canceling headphones and escape into Star Providence, and it was just as awesome as I was expecting it to be. So
Yeah, it's been really good for Star of Providence. The Switch release will just tell so many more people, hey, this game exists, you should play it, please play it, it's so good.
Yes. Well, and I hope, I don't know if Team D13, I don't know how easy it will be for them to get Switch to SDUs or anything, but it would be great if like the mouse control mode of Switch 2 could be worked into the game.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
To that, actually, there was one thing I wanted to mention because Matt, you talked about how aiming is a little tricky on Switch. I agree with that. For me, the drill weapon is actually basically unusable almost. It's very difficult to use, especially if you're wanting to shoot with it. But aim assist is coming. They released it in a beta branch on PC right now.
Public beta, especially.
Yeah. So people can hop in and try it out if you're playing on controller. But I was really happy to hear that because I think that is the one thing that it needs on there. But if we get that switch to mouse control, I'm kind of skeptical about how well that will work. But I don't know. Nintendo's pulled off harder things in the past. But yeah, that would be awesome.
Look, I went to a hands-on preview event. I've played it. I played Metroid Prime 4 with mouse control. It feels great. Like it feels really good.
Okay.
So yeah, I like that. That was one of the things. Like when it comes to Star of Providence, I'm like, I would really like. I don't often get the opportunity to like sit at my desk or my TV, but that I think would probably become my preferred way to play this game. Is like with detached Joy-Con and with the mouse control. That would be really cool if they could pull that off.
Huh. Wow. That's cool. So I know, Seth, I know you pre-ordered a Switch too, right?
Oh yeah.
You had quite the ordeal.
It was an experience, dude. Yeah. I got a sunburn.
Oh geez. Matt, have you pre-ordered one as well?
Couldn't have had a further on the other side of the scale experience. Nintendo of Europe emailed my wife and it was like, hey, do you want to pre-order a Switch through us? Come on in. We got you queued up in line. It takes like 10 minutes. It was nice. Yeah.
Jeez. This is how we know America's a collapsing society.
Amen to that, dude. It was it was bleak out there on the GameStop line. Nobody was happy. I waited in the Texas sun for 4 hours. It was
Oh
not great.
no.
Jeez. Well, yeah, it's exciting that you both got one, and yeah, I hope Star Province makes it onto there. I think there's supposed to be backwards compatibility, so hopefully it shows
Yeah.
up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it should be there day one. The ability to play it as if it were on Switch anyway. But yeah, it'd be great if they could make a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Star of Providence would be sick. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure the publisher's gonna push them to do that.
Well, we'll have to see what the devs themselves have to say about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be really cool. I mean, I'm hopeful as an indie game fan. You know, there are a lot of games that come out on Steam that kind of have to be like relegated to Steam, because if you put in the effort for like a Switch port, you have to work in some kind of like whatever cursor that you clunkily use the control stick to move around or whatever. And so I'm hopeful that the Switch 2's mouse control will make it palatable for devs to port more stuff over to Switch 2. I hope they keep software development kits relatively affordable for developers and open for developers to use, because I would love to see that the Switch has been a great platform for indies, and I hope Switch 2 continues that, because yeah, there's I think a lot of potential with the mouse control specifically.
So, Matt, you mentioned your review on so manygames.co.uk. You gave Star Providence 5 stars, and it's an excellent review. It's really well written. It's the kind of review that
link it in the show notes.
Oh, we absolutely will. And it's the kind of review you read it and you're like, I want to read the other things that I want to read the other reviews from this writer. But you did give Star Province 5 stars. What other games have you played that you kind of feel possess the same magic as Star Providence? And Seth, we're going to ask you this question too, but
that's a great question. In terms of games I've reviewed, which isn't like in an official capacity, not that many, I would say Vivid Lope.
Oh, Vivid Lope?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vivid Lope. It came out, it's been on PC for a while. It came out on Switch last year. We got code for it, played it there. It's kind of, how do you describe this? It's like a turn of the millennium, like Sega Dreamcast era puzzle game. Like it's kind of got like a Choo Choo Rocket kind of vibe to it, but it plays more like, like a 3D Qbert or Pac-Man kind of thing.
I just looked this up on Steam, and my goodness, that visual style is something I haven't seen in a while.
They really go all the way with it too. Like the music sounds very sample heavy, dreamy trance stuff that you would have heard 20 years ago. Excellent game. It only costs like $10. It's something absurd like that,
and it has a demo too.
Oh, didn't even know that. So that's the closest thing I can think of right now. And that was one I also reviewed on so many games. Though I think you'd be better off watching the video on the All In channel, or now the $2 Hero channel. I had my wife on as like my co-host, or like in the passenger seat, and I was explaining things to her in this video. I think you get a good feel for the game there. Man, that's a hard question though. There really are not. I think I stated in that review, there's not many games I give or would think about giving like 5 stars to, or whatever else. Like, yeah, Clair Obscur, amazing game, loving it. It's fantastic, but it'd probably be like a 4 or 4.5 for me personally. Right. So yeah, off the top of my head, I would also say Spelunky and Spelunky 2. Those are just two of my favorite games of all time. By that measure, like also like you got Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate 3. Those are like the only other like masterpieces I feel like I've played in the past 5 years or so. I think that's like a short list of the games I consider masterpieces in the past 5 years.
Wow. So Star of Province for you is sitting among some like very esteemed company.
I mean, yeah, right, for what it is, the scope of what it is, how much it costs, how good the gameplay is. It's the complete package. So how could I not? I guess
Hmm.
when we want to start looking more past like objective quality, I would also I'd be remiss not to mention. I think Seth and I's favorite indie developer, Analgesic Productions. They've
Yeah.
put out stuff like Anodyne 2 and even The Ocean and Stephanie.
Oh yeah,
Uh, none of those games are objectively a 5 out of 5 or whatever, but in my heart, they are some of my favorite games I've ever played, and like completely exemplify, the indie spirit in gaming to me.
yeah. I follow the developer on Blue Sky. Actually, really fascinating. Just overall thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really, really fascinating. Have you guys ever interviewed the developers?
Yeah. I've come to know Melos in particular, but I interviewed both Melos and Marina, the two people behind Analgesic, and yeah, I've come to know them fairly well over the years,
Oh, that's
and
cool. I think they're
they're
working
great.
on
Yeah.
Angeline Era right now.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah, which looks awesome.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait. I beta tested that game
Oh,
pretty
really?
extensively, and it rules. Yeah.
That is cool. That is really cool.
Uh, so five out of five games for me. Oh man, it's Matt. My heart. I immediately went for Spelunky 1 and 2 as well. Those are
Mm-hmm.
like Matt said, some of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
It's tough, man, because yeah, I think that there is a sort of delineation between like the things that I just subjectively like really love and would rate really highly, but I also kind of understand that they aren't for everyone. Like one of my favorite games this year, like my current favorite game that I've played so far this year, is Star of Providence. My number two is a game called Sorry We're Closed, which I loved. I don't know if it's like a 5 out of 5. I don't know if it's for everybody, but much like the analgesic games, like Matt mentioned, like it is in my heart. Like that is like a 5 out of 5 game in my heart.
Mhm.
Um, but like when something, I think one of the things that's so cool about Starprov is like I truly feel like I could recommend that game to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
because even though some people might not vibe with the genre, they might not find it, they might find it too difficult or whatever. I really truly think that anybody that's spent a little bit of time with the game, I think would eventually reach a place where they felt satisfied with the experience. Like maybe
Mm-hmm.
not everybody goes all the way through hard mode and
Yeah.
defeating Monolith and stuff like this, but I genuinely feel like anybody could get something out of Star of Providence and walk away from the experience feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
And I think that to me is like the difference of like what's a game that is the perfect representation of exactly what it is, and also I feel like anybody could play it in some capacity,
Mm.
you know. So yeah, I think Star of Providence is in some pretty like rarefied air when it comes to that. We mentioned it earlier, but Gimmick 2, not a game that's going to be for everybody, but again, like just the perfect realization of what that is. Like I kind of don't have any notes for that game, considering what it is. It's this really kind of unique 2D platformer with like a pretty bizarre mechanic that really shouldn't work and just kind of does anyway.
Uh-huh.
Um, it rules. Like it's just the perfect representation of what it is.
Mhm.
Gosh, there's so many, man. I love Greg Lobanov's games.
Oh,
Like
I forgot about Greg
yeah,
Lobanov's games. Yeah,
yeah,
Chicory, just one of my all-time favorites.
Oh.
Oh,
yeah,
and Wonder Song.
yeah.
Wonder Song. Yep.
Wonder
Yeah.
Song is like it's not a mechanically deep game, but like the storytelling and the characters, it hits me so
Hmm.
hard. Like I still very very fondly remember the scene at like the nightclub at the Witch's
Oh
City.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's something special.
Hmm.
Yeah. I did think of two more while I was
Oh,
letting Seth
Oh,
talk.
please.
go ahead.
Hypnospace Outlaw, which
Oh,
is
Ah.
I
like,
need to play that game. I
oh,
haven't need to play it.
I think you specifically would love it, Nick. Based on like what I know about your personality and your interests, I think you would love it.
Dude,
Um,
yes.
Streets of Rage 4 also. That I think that's maybe the best action game and like I've ever played. And we also just did a bit harmony on it a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for the recommendation. There's quite a few of those that I have not played and many I didn't even hear of before. So yeah, Sorry We're Closed, Vivid Lope, Glyph. Gotta check these out.
And check out Wondersong too while you're at it. That's my recommendation to you.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of fan art from that game, and that doesn't always mean a game's good, but I don't know. The level of fan art I've seen going out about that game, I'm like,
well, it's good.
Spoke to a lot of people.
Wondersong rules. It's kind of like a more story focused, like Zelda 2, if that makes sense.
The side-scrolling, kind of nature of it. Malachi, there's a scene where the main character, the bard, has their first sip of coffee, and I think you would really appreciate that scene in particular.
I remember that scene. That was a moment.
Yeah, interesting. I'll remember that. I'll have to look that up.
But, I just realized we got so engrossed we didn't even do the typical something nice that happened this week segment.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's true. Well.
Oh well.
That's fine.
Yeah. Oh well. Seth, are you still doing? You said that you've done fan writing in the past. Are you still doing any of that?
I would love to. I haven't made a lot of time for that sort of thing in a while. I did actually. So for I'm part of the team at Carpool Gaming. I can't even remember if I mentioned that, but that's another thing I do. And one of the things we do, I'm part of like the production crew over there, and I'm responsible for a lot of our like Extra Life efforts. We've raised tens of thousands of dollars for Extra Life over the years.
Oh, cool.
Last year alone, we raised over $10,000, and so we go big for Extra Life. And the year before last, I did write a fan fiction, a piece of Mario fan fiction, a 3-part Mario fan fiction that we performed live during Extra Life.
Wow!
And that was really fun. It's anytime that I get the chance to kind of like get back in the saddle and write something is always really fun. I'm a big lover of D&D as well. And we often do some live D&D for Extra Life, and that all really speaks to me. And yeah, I would love to write some Star of Providence stuff. I've not done it yet, but you never know. I have a little kind of vacation coming up. And I'm
no, don't do that on your vacation.
Well, look, I'm the kind of person where like I can't sit still for too long. So even like if I'm trying to like relax with some intentionality, it probably means I'm just gonna stream like every day, and I'm like that's like relax. I can't not make stuff. If I try to just sit still and do nothing, I'm miserable.
Yeah. Well, now I feel bad for asking you about this. Making you're going to start writing StarProv fan writing on your vacation.
He's going to be sweating in like a log cabin trying to come up with something.
Yeah.
You're going to show him your fanfic, Malachi?
I think most of my fanfics are already on the podcast. They might have heard some of them, but there is a piece I'm working on now that I'll need voice actors for eventually. So I might reach out and see if you guys have any time. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is yet another thing that I do is I'm a voice actor kind of on the side. I do like professional narration. I get paid to do it. So I guess that makes me a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I could see that.
Thanks.
Do you guys have anything else you'd like to touch on or talk about?
I mean, this was great. This was a genuine treat for me as a longtime fan of the show, and I love what you guys do here, and it was awesome to be like even a small part of it for an episode. I loved it. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I know it's funny that you say you're a longtime fan, but we've only been listening for like 2 months. Though I know we both blasted through like most of the episodes. So
I caught up within like a month of you sharing the show with me.
Man, I don't know if that's healthy, Seth.
Dude, it was the only. I gotta say, maybe I'll plug your own show for you here on the show. I don't listen to that many podcasts anymore. I used to be a big like consumer of podcasts, and now I make so many. I don't listen to that many of them.
Mhm.
Upgrade Terminal is one of the only podcasts that like when I see a new episode drop, it's the first thing I'm doing. Like no
Wow.
joke.
Man, I really appreciate that. That's really kind of you to say. Thank you.
Yeah, no, for me it's the same. Like I love both of your voices so much. Like you
Mhm.
both have relaxing voices, but in different ways.
Mhm.
I've recommend. Okay, this is gonna sound like a joke. I swear it's not. I've recommended your podcast to my mom.
What?
Because
Hi, Matt's
I,
mom.
I don't know if she even knows what a podcast is, but I tried to make her understand. But like as something to help her like sleep, and also for her to like feel like she's being spoken to. You know, like when she's alone at night or whatever.
Mhm.
I think people underestimate. You know, again, what we talked about earlier. Like, how does a Star of Providence focused fan cast exist? You're just passionate about it, and I think basically most people just want to hear people be passionate about something. You know,
Mhm.
there's stories about like 80-year-old ladies watching GDQ every summer, right? Because
Right.
it is something, for one, it's a 24/7 thing.
Yep.
It's also just like a bunch of people who are excited to showcase and share things they're excited about. That's how I view Upgrade Terminal. Like I genuinely have recommended this podcast to multiple people that don't know what Star of Providence is.
Wow. Well, that is very kind of you to say. I feel, and kind of you to recommend our show.
Mhm.
Yeah, when my parents mentioned they listened to it, I'm like, why? Like, I never should have told you it existed.
It is. I mean, Matt's right. It's nice to hear people be passionate about something. I'm a big Mr. Rogers fan.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I love Mr. Rogers. And Mr. Rogers would have people come on his show. Like he would have Yo-Yo Ma come on the show and just like
Mhm.
play whatever, the cello. Like not really and just talk about why he loves playing and just doing what he loves in front of kids. And that has always stuck out to me. Like the reason I think like Bob Ross was so, was so popular is because like you just saw him loving the show. Was called The Joy of Painting, dude. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like there's something to that. Like there's something about putting all your eggs in this one kind of basket of passion, and it is infectious. And the world needs more stuff like this.
Wow.
I'm glad you say that because part of it is like we like to have guests over because we're also giving them a chance to talk about how much they like this game and like the things they do within it. Like it's not just about us,
Yeah.
it's about giving other people that space in which they can talk about it unabashedly and earnestly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I feel I'm thinking back to like, I think that podcasting, doing this has allowed Nick and I to meet more people, to get to know people in the Star of Providence community better. And it's led us to be able to meet you guys. And, like this has been a really worthwhile journey for us. And I don't know. I wish we were like all around the same table right now. We could put our hands
I
in the middle and
know.
just be like, indies. I don't-
Freeze frame.
yeah. We're all, we've all leapt up in the air. Yeah. No, well, thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
Thank you.
And listeners, be sure to check out all of Seth and Matt's awesome content. We will link it all in the show notes.
Don't worry, there's a lot of Seth to go around.
Yeah, there sure is.
Yeah. And you know what? If you get in their Discord and start chatting with Seth, he might start a podcast with you. You never know.
You never know, man. I might just scoop you up. We might be
The limits to how many podcasts this man can create.
I have tried and failed to brush up against the limits of what I can make, and I haven't found it yet.
Would any of you like to plug any websites, any personal links, anything of the like?
Oh yeah. You can find pretty much everything with me if you go to either alln.media, which is Alln's website, carpoolgaming.com, which is Carpool's website, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/$2hero. You'll find pretty much everything there. All that stuff is on those sites.
Yeah, I mean, mostly just listen to BitHarmony. If you're gonna check me out
Yeah.
anywhere, just go listen to BitHarmony. Again, if you like this podcast, I think you'd like that. Otherwise, I think I'm like Matt Murray, all one word, .bsky.profile or whatever it is, whatever the format is on Blue Sky.
Right.
Thanks so much for listening to our Star of Providence Fancast. Big thanks, as always, to Garoslaw and AlexMdle for allowing us to use their music and sound effects in the podcast. Our intro music was made for us by Garo, and yeah, we love it. Thanks, Garo.
You can listen to all of the Star of Providence soundtrack on Bandcamp, Volumes 1 and 2, and the 5th Anniversary Edition soundtrack. And of course, a gigantic thank you to Seth and Matt for coming onto the show.
Thanks, guys. If you have any comments or suggestions for the show, you can reach out to us on our Discord server. We'll post the server link in the show notes.
And there you will find fellow pilots to talk with and discuss the show. Thanks for listening. We hope you'll join us next time.
This is what you came for, isn't it?
So be it.